But I miss it.
I know, I know. Okay, hold on.
What you didn't tell me what class this is, by the way.
Oh, it's where are you people? Your seminar. They're all graduating this semester except one.
Fantastic.
This is really terrible. Hold on. This thing is in the way. Right. Again. Man, you guys go a little that way. Because I see it like the end of stuff. You guys see it? Okay, cool. All right, so today, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, so today we have Doris Pittman who's going to talk to us. She was one of my former students at Cal Poly, one of my favorite former students.
I was waiting for that.
I know. So she, right now, is it engagement manager? Is that your title?
Yes.
Okay, so she's going to talk to you about what she does at Trace 3, the day-to-day, but also how she got to where she is. How long have you been with them?
I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary.
Okay, awesome. It's really cool. Okay, great. So, Zara, without further ado, they're all yours.
Okay, so as client engagement manager, I work on a team of 30 individuals that are dedicated to a handful of enterprise accounts, so large companies. We kind of tackle the healthcare vertical, I would say, but we're branching out to some other areas that are kind of new and exciting right now. So we have an account manager that leads our team. Well, first of all, Trace 3 is an IT solutions provider. So we sell hardware, software, and the services and training to go around those different solutions. And so on my team, we have an account manager who handles all the accounts, and I work for him. And as the engagement manager, I work sort of as the liaison between our team and our clients, and our team and our partners, so the different manufacturers that we sell their solutions, and just kind of manage the different relationships and focus on strategic partnerships and just making everything a little bit more seamless for our customers and our partners, because it's all about communicating and keeping everybody looped in and everybody happy. So but over the last, I would say, year, I've kind of taken on more of a sales role. So I'm really working side by side with our account manager to help crack some new accounts and sell some new products. So that's kind of an overview of what I do and who Trace 3 is. Do you want me to jump into how I kind of got here?
Yes.
Okay. So I graduated from Cal Poly Pomona, where Dr. McCorkindale was my absolute favorite teacher. And I had this whole idea that once you graduate, someone just hands you a career on a silver platter, because that's what happens. You get a diploma and it's done. And so I was working at a restaurant and I was like, okay, I got the diploma. I'm going to walk out of this restaurant and never look back. And unfortunately, that's not what happens. And so I was stuck at this restaurant for another like 12 months, almost a year pretty much. And I was so miserable. I was knocking on doors. I was putting my resume out there. I was on every website. I was, just trying my best to find a job, a career. And I graduated with my degree in communications with emphasis in PR. And so anyhow, long story short, I was working at the restaurant one day and I was waiting on a customer who I'd known for a very long time. And he was at lunch with like 5 or 6 of his coworkers, and they had a bottle of wine and filet mignon and all this, crazy stuff for a 12 o'clock random lunch. And I said, Ruben, I've known you for so long, but I have no clue what it is you guys do. But whatever it is, I want to do it. And so they all laughed. And he goes, well, I said, are you guys hiring? And they all laughed again. He goes, well, actually we are. We're looking for someone who's detail oriented and who's a good communicator and someone who can write, and all of these things that he was naming off. I said, oh my gosh, that's my cover letter. And I was like, well, wait, what do you guys do? And so he kind of, explained to me this whole IT thing, which to me meant nothing. And he goes, send me your resume. So long story short, I sent him my resume, and he called me a few days later and he said, I would love for you to come in and meet our general manager and interview with us. And I literally said, wait, what do you guys do again? But the moral of the story, I think, is it didn't work out the way that I anticipated it to work out, and I didn't wind up in the line of work that I thought I would be in, but the skills that I acquired very much, because of Dr. McCorkindale, it allowed me to go into a whole new arena that I never thought possible, and and be really good at it at the same time. So it's been a really fun last 5 years, and I would have never expected it. So
that's a really cool story.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So, Tara, is that where you still work? Do you still work? Is that where you started at Phase 3?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's fantastic.
And so so when they hired me, I was an inside sales rep, which for sales teams is pretty much someone who is behind the scenes, supporting the sales rep, processing orders, putting together quotes, kind of dealing with the back end sort of the business, a very supportive role and super important to any division. And then a couple years in, they wanted to kind of put me out in front of people as well as behind the scenes. So I maintained the inside portion, but then they gave me a title of client relationship manager. So again, just being that liaison, making sure things were not only working at the back of the house, but also in the front. And so then my last promotion was, I guess, a year and a half ago to client engagement manager. So I'm no longer doing the inside stuff, but I'm managing a team of 4 girls who, because we've grown so much in the last 5 years, so there's 4 people now doing the job that I started out doing, just because the volume has grown so much.
And you also travel quite a bit, right?
Say that again?
Do you travel quite a bit in your job?
I do now, not so much in the beginning, but yeah, so I live in Southern California, and our team of 30 is focused on Northern California accounts. So half of us live up there, a couple of us live in Colorado, but there's a handful of us still down in LA. And so to cover the Northern California area, there's like 5 of us that are on a plane up to the Bay Area pretty much every single week. So a lot of it is just for a day trip and back, which is just like, an hour flight. And if any of you have ever been to LA, you would understand that that's nothing compared to traffic. So I welcome it. And so I do travel pretty much, I would say every week or every other week, just kind of depending on what's going on.
Yeah, awesome. So what tips would you give for them, like looking for a job, maybe through the interview process and all that fun stuff?
I would say we have this fantastic CEO who gives these amazing speeches. And one of the things he always says, specific for our business, is you get the business you ask for. And I think that is such a great thing to remember and apply to any aspect of life. So, and I think that searching for a job is definitely applicable. So I would say put yourself out there, introduce yourself to everybody, ask a ton of questions, because you really just don't know what's around the corner. My story about how I wound up doing what I'm doing is indicative of that. So I think that so yeah, ask for, you get the business you ask for. That's my favorite. Also, I read a lot. I read a lot for fun, but I also read a lot industry related, because I don't have an IT background. And I work with a lot of really smart IT engineers. And so you got to stay on your toes, and IT is always changing. So I would just say immerse yourself in whatever it is you're looking to do. And put together a plan. I think a plan is probably the most important thing. Everybody says, they have no time, but really I think you just don't make time. So if you put stuff down on paper and you really envision it, put it on your bulletin board, stare at it every day, what you want to accomplish, I think that really helps and expedites the process of where you want to go. I just finished this amazing book called Search Inside Yourself, which was written by one of the early engineers who started Google. And he talks about envisioning and how if you focus on it and you see it and you write it down, it really starts to become a reality. And if you talk about it and share your goals with people, people innately want to help. And I think that's true, so you have to let people in to help you as well. Because regardless of what you think, because I used to be like this, you can't do it on your own. So I would say those three things are pretty important.
Good. Great. What questions do you have for Dara? Oh yeah, that's actually. Did you hear?
I couldn't hear anything.
No,
it sounded like
that's a really good question, and I have had this conversation. But she said online, it looks like Trace 3 is really strong into the work-life balance and into sort of what development, like community service, but also team building. Leadership. So do you want to talk maybe about that?
Yeah, absolutely. They're huge into work-life balance. Absolutely. Everybody I work with, whether they're, and it is an IT company, but not everybody has IT backgrounds because there's sales, there's accounting, there's all kinds of stuff, project management, there's everything in between. But everybody is such a type A go-getter, hard worker, and everyone works hard, plays hard. So there's that balance. The company has so many fun perks, I would say. We just got back from our annual conference where it's a technology and leadership conference we do in Vegas every year. And so they usually set aside a day just for the employees. And there's roughly 350 of us now. And it's fun because they really know that you guys bust your butts all year. So let's celebrate now. And then, you also have to get up and be at the conference at, 7 a.m. the next day till 5. So it's constantly like that. They're huge into charities. Our CEO is a big supporter of a charity called Project Hope Alliance, which helps homeless children in the Orange County area, so Southern California. And he uses every opportunity he gets to, have us volunteer to help if we can, whether that be with time, services, or donating. So, it's just, we really function as a huge family. It's a big company, but it's not a huge company. So everybody does know your name, and it does feel like it totally feels like a family. The other thing that has become ingrained in our culture is organizational health, which I think plays a huge part there. And since you guys are in Dr. McCorkindale's class, I think you probably know a thing or two about Patrick Lencioni. So he wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of the Team and The Advantage, and big organizational health guru. So our CEO randomly read one of his books a few years ago and reached out to his company called The Table Group, where they're a consulting firm where they go into, large companies and small companies and basically take their leadership and spend a couple days at an offsite going through how to build trust, get everybody realigned, and just build that team unity. And so he reached out to their company. Then he took his group of executives, which there were 6 or 7 at the time, and they start out with the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. And so you really find out how you work and how you can work better with others. And at the end of their 2-day offsite, I think there were 7 of them when they went in. They came out with 5 because one of the vice presidents and one of the other executives were like, look, we're just not aligned and we're not on board with the vision that you have for the company, which is fine. And so they actually left the company. But you have to kind of do that hard stuff sometimes to figure out how to get where you need to go. And so anyhow, it was such a catalyst for our company to move to the next level that the CEO invested and reinvested in the table group and allowed all the different teams throughout the company to take their leadership groups and go to the offsite. So we got to do that a couple years ago. And it was so enlightening and really helped our team communicate and understand how to, work together, because at the end of the day, that's what you have to figure out how to do. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a big family, and the work-life balance is super important to our company. I think that's really key if you can find a company that cares enough to invest in people that much. And I think everybody I work with, if I had said, if I was to give you, $400,000, would you go work for another company? I think most people would say no, because it's just such a great place to be, and we're so well taken care of in so many different ways besides monetary.
Great. Gordon? Oh, what did your resume look like when you graduated from Cal Poly?
Gosh, I don't even know. Let's see. So I worked at a restaurant, which is called Houston's, and there's a few of them throughout the country. I don't know if there's any. I don't think there's any in North Carolina, but
no, I don't. Yeah, really good sandwiches.
Really good, all kinds of good stuff. So I worked there for like 7 years before I started college, during college, after college. And while I was there, I wore several different hats. So I was a greeter, I was a server, I was a bartender, I did their accounting at the end of the night. I trained staff, I did their wine tasting. So I just kind of kept, like adding things to my resume, I guess, or my virtual resume, just to learn different things. When I graduated and then, like I said, couldn't find a job, I still worked at the restaurant, but then because I had that wine knowledge, kind of by default, I started working as a wine sales rep on the side, because I was like, well, I have this knowledge, I love wine, and I know how to talk to people from, being at the restaurant and being in the hospitality industry. So I continued to just add things to, my downtime, which equaled I didn't really have a lot of downtime, but it didn't matter because I needed to, get to that next phase. So, and then I did take a job as like freelance copy editing for a company in Southern California. So my resume kind of was a jumble of different things, and a lot of things were all concurrent, So I think when people saw it, they were like, how are you working, 7 jobs? But, they were just part-time here or there. I kind of spun the restaurant thing to seem a little bit maybe more important, which I think is fine. Not that it wasn't important, but, I turned in their financials at the end of the night. So I made that into an assistant accounting position and, different things just to tweak it. It wasn't lying. It was just, just polishing things up. So that's an interesting question, because I'm sure if I looked at my resume from back then now, I would crack up, because, I've done so much more since I've been at one job than I ever did with, balancing 5 different ones. So.
Other questions? Andy? Yeah, so how was it going into something like IT that you didn't really have an expectation of going into, and trying to sort of get up to speed with learning about the industry? Because, did you become interested in it, or were you like, well, it's a job? You know what I mean?
That's a great question. So when I first started, literally for the first 2 weeks, the position I took, this inside sales position, I replaced someone who supported my boss, Ruben, from Colorado. And so we trained over the internet like this, which was horrible because I knew nothing about IT. I didn't understand it. And this person, I love this person dearly. His name is Galen. He but he's not a great communicator. And so we would just like butt heads every day. And so I think there's something to be said about training side by side with someone, because you really get that kind of one-on-one interaction, and get to ask those, questions that sometimes you think are so stupid, but there are no stupid questions. And so I would just get so frustrated and overwhelmed. And so I kept thinking to myself, I've made a bad decision. This isn't going to work. And so I would, like probably 3 days out of the week, I would end the day in tears and just say, okay, I'm just going to give it another week and we'll see what happens. And luckily I stuck it out, and so it worked out. But it was like drinking from a fire hose. I think that's the best way to explain jumping into IT was for me. I'm totally interested in it now. I am slowly becoming an IT nerd, and it's awesome. I mean, IT touches everything, especially more now than ever, especially more now than when I started. It really connects the lines of business and IT, where before they used to be so separate. But there's such a huge push now with different cloud initiatives or big data and analytics, and it's just interesting. It's such a growing industry, and it's just not going anywhere. So yeah, it was super hard, but I stuck it out. And like I said, I've just continued. You never, ever, ever stop learning, obviously, but with this career, you can't, or else you just become extinct. So I just immersed myself in a lot of books around the healthcare vertical, like I said, because that's kind of one of our focuses, but also around just new initiatives for IT organizations. So big data, cloud, virtualization, things that, meant nothing to me 5 years ago. So.
Okay, so Jordan asks, if you were in a position to hire, what sort of qualities would you look for in an individual?
That is a great question. So, like I was telling you about the company, when they went to, our CEO and his executive team went to that offsite, and 2 people basically got off the bus, right? We just asked one of our 30 people to get off the bus because they were just not the right fit. After a couple years, we just thought, okay, this is going to work out, yada, yada. So your question is so timely, because I know exactly what we would look for, because I just went through a situation where we knew what we didn't need. So for us, the industry moves so fast, which I don't think is that different from many industries, but and we're definitely customer service oriented. The reason we exist, we're a third party, because there's a manufacturer and there's a customer, and so we're just the middleman. But we don't want to be thought of as the middleman, because it makes more sense for me. I would just rather call direct and deal with someone. So what is the value I bring? The value that I bring is I facilitate all the heavy lifting, so the customer doesn't, has a seamless transaction, and the partner, we get to offload a lot of those in between kind of hurdles as well. So we need people who are just ingrained with high levels of customer service, who are, quick, super responsive, not willing or not, they have to be willing to put themselves out there, learn new things, try new things, and just kind of do whatever it takes. We all kind of have that mentality throughout the company, I would say, specifically to our team, because clients, just like, and this is another thing, being stuck at the restaurant for forever was actually a really, really great thing, because it taught me so much about customer service and how to deal with difficult individuals. Sometimes customers are not always super pleasant, right? Think about all the times you've called your cell phone carrier and been upset because they charged you for extra data or whatever. People get pissed, and so you have to sort of like. You have to be able to handle that, have thick skin, but also not burn any bridges. So I would say customer service is number 1. Skills are number 2, which they don't have to be perfect at first, but you have to have the ability to continually add to them and want to. And then Yeah, and then I would say, and then the cultural fit would be super important as well. And those are things that we came out with like our different goals and values for our team when we did the table group offsite, which was super helpful as well because you kind of know those things, but when you put them down on paper, it really makes a little bit more sense and helps you frame who you guys are, who you want to be, and who you want to bring on board. So.
Oh, Jordan said she needs a job. That's sure at the end.
Are you super responsive? I can't
She
hear.
is responsive.
Okay.
Yeah. And she has lots of fun. No, she's great.
You're hired.
Any other questions? Megan? And that's a good question. So what did you take? So let me sort of give you background. Cal Poly is very different than us. Like we didn't have a campaigns class. It was a very strong communication basis. You had comm theory, reporting 1 and reporting 2. Just bring back memories.
Yeah.
And then I think you just took 3 PR classes: PR theory, PR management, and PR writing. So what they wanted to know was, what did you take away from your PR background into the new job?
A lot, which was awesome. You know, again, when I applied for the IT position, I'm like, how the hell is this going to work with a communication and PR degree and IT? I didn't see any sort of overlap. But like I said, I wasn't hired to be an engineer, and I'm not the engineer. We have engineers on the team and principal architects, and you're going to laugh, I always talk about the systems theory. That's my favorite theory because that's how our team is. If one gear isn't working, everything else is affected. But when everything's like well-oiled and moving in the right direction and doing what it was put there to do, so the engineers, the project managers, inside sales, then it's a functioning system. So I was brought on to work behind the house and do the quotes and process orders and manage spreadsheets, and then I took on this new role and the whole thing, this undertone of customer service, right? And dealing with individuals. And so I think PR definitely, studying PR gave me, and communications gave me that foundation that I needed, because like I said earlier, I knew how to talk to individuals. I knew how to get up in front of people who I'd never met before. That was one of the things that I was tasked with over the last 3 years, I'd say, was getting up in front of large groups of people, whether our customers or manufacturers, and giving, presentations, which is nerve-wracking, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And so I think that whole PR and communication background totally helped with that and continues to help. Also, just understanding how to deliver and disseminate information, not withholding, just filtering things, making sure the message you want to convey is delivered appropriately and received, and then constantly reevaluating and making it better. So yeah, I think that I'm so happy with the degree and the classes that I took and chose to take, because I think they would help anyone in any profession, really. So yeah, huge help for me.
I think it's so fantastic you remember all these comm theories.
I'm such a dork, but that's because your classes were so great, and I took 30 of your classes, because there was 3. Yeah.
The Cal Poly students, really, I would have students in 6 of my classes. I think the most I have were in 6 or 7 of my classes, the same students, which was really great, because I felt like we really got to know everybody really well. It was a really great group of, I think, the teamwork, everyone knew each other really well, fellow students. It was a really good environment.
It was really good. So.
All right. Well, anyone else have any questions for me? Let Dara go about today. No. Okay.
Can you see me in my group?
Yes.
Oh. So thank you so much, Dara. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Dara.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Have a great day, you guys. Good luck with everything. Okay.